she really loves raisins and having more, less starchy or carbohydrates at other times, but definitely having them around her workouts and a liquid carbohydrate supplement during her workouts.
Only 3 people in history have repeated as the fittest woman on earth, and Katrin Davidsdottir is one of them. This Icelandic woman only started CrossFit in 2011, and in 2015 and 2016, she won the Reebok CrossFit Games. She is very fit. And okay, she hasn't won since 2016, but in 2019 she came 4th, in 2018 she came 3rd. She is still very much in her prime and an absolutely ferocious athlete in her own right. Adee Cazayoux is the CEO and founder of WAG, a nutrition coaching company, stands for Working Against Gravity, and she's been working really closely with Katrin since 2016 to help her devise a diet that's right for her. So today we're going to be talking about calories, macronutrients, different types of carbohydrates and when they're consumed, how Katrin's diet differs with respect to a lot of other big name CrossFit athletes, and how this diet works in the context of her everyday life. Things like how to drink alcohol, how to construct your diet when you're going out, how to minimize food stress. These are the sorts of things that WAG really specializes in, and that's why they've attracted a lot of big name CrossFit athletes, including Brooke Wells, Cole Sager, Brooke Entz, and Camille Blanc-Bazinet. Let's start with what many people agree is the most important component of your diet, and that is calories. No matter how you cut it, no matter how much you may struggle against this reality, the fact is calories are king. And if you want to be a good athlete, you need to have at least a rough idea of how many calories you are consuming. And for Katrin Davidsdottir, who is roughly 5'7", weighs about 150 to 160 pounds, her macros and calories do change throughout the year, but generally she eats between 2,500 to 3,200 calories on a workout day.
It definitely ranges throughout the season. It depends on what time of year that we are, and how flexible we are with actually hitting a certain number of calories, but it will range anywhere from 2,500 to as high as 3,200 calories, depending on if we're super close to the games or if we're far from the games, what training is looking like, how she's recovering and feeling, as well as the change in her body weight. CrossFit's a unique sport kind of that way, where how much you weigh impacts a lot of athletes, how they feel or how their gymnastics feel or how much weight they can lift and all those different things. So like the balance of not being so heavy your gymnastics suffer or not being so light and lean that your weightlifting starts to suffer.
That was kind of a long quote, but it really is very important to emphasize that CrossFit is unlike any other sport. Like, you have to be strong, and in most sports, if you want to get stronger, you gain some weight. But you can't get too heavy and gain too much fat, otherwise that can mess with your body weight skills and your agility. As Katrin herself puts it,
with our sport, you've got to be lean and you can't be carrying around extra body weight, so it's fueling our body as much as we can with staying light and lean.
So yes, it does vary, but like on a workout day, you're looking at about 3,200-ish calories is what Katrin consumes, which as a side note is more than I consume, and I weigh 50 pounds more than her and I'm 6 feet tall. But that is just how much energy this very athletic woman expends. So what are macronutrients? Let's talk protein.
Like around a gram per pound, so she's around 150 grams of protein a day.
Fat.
When she's on top of her food, her fat's probably roughly between 25 and 30%.
And carbohydrates are what's left. So let's say she's on one of her 3,200 calorie workout days. She's gonna be eating roughly 150 grams of protein, so that's about 600 calories. She's gonna be eating 25% of her calories from fat, so that's 800 calories, or roughly 90 grams of fat. It's like 88.9 grams of fat. And the rest is carbohydrates, so that's gonna be 1,600 calories from carbohydrates, or about 450 grams of carbs. So more than half of her total calories are coming from carbohydrates. And that was a pretty big learning point for Katrin, because while this isn't quite so much the case today, in the earlier years of CrossFit, and still in some pockets of the sport, CrossFit is pretty closely associated with lower carbohydrate, higher fat diets, like the paleo diet.
I was deathly afraid of carbs. Like, I was sure if I was gonna eat carbs, I was gonna gain weight. Like, I wouldn't eat carbs. Imagine being in this sport, so much intensity, and I wasn't eating carbs. That's what we use. And I wasn't giving my body any of them. I felt like she was giving me so many carbs. I was like, I'm gonna gain weight. She's like, no, you're not. I'm like, you just wait and see. And I actually end up leaning out a lot and gaining strength and just feeling generally better. And I was like, huh. But she did take a lot of fat away from me.
Now, similar to Rich Froning, who is also, of course, an enormously successful CrossFit athlete, and if you haven't checked it out, you have to check out our video on his diet right there. But Katrin also structures her carbohydrate intake so that she has different types of carbohydrates depending on when she's exercising. And it's pretty much identical to what Rich Froning does. So during workouts, she'll take liquid carbohydrates. Katrin takes a supplement like this, a liquid carbohydrate supplement, but for a lot of people, like Rich Froning, this might be the form of juice or Kool-Aid, Gatorade, something like that. And then around the workout, especially before the workout, they'll be taking higher glycemic carbohydrates. Katrin is a massive fan of raisins, it turns out, but other people might have stuff like kids cereal, Fig Newtons, that kind of thing. And then they'll have more fibrous carbohydrates, your standard oatmeal, your brown rice, your veggies, that kind of stuff. Those will be at other ends of the day, further away from the workouts. The reason for this is when carbohydrates are lower in fiber and higher on the glycemic index, which really means liquid carbs, and it also means the high glycemic, lower fiber carbohydrates, like the kids' cereal, the raisins, that kind of stuff. When there's less fiber, the carbohydrates absorb more quickly. They give you a faster energy spike, which is really good for a lot of athletes during a workout and right before a workout. It might not always be ideal at other times of day. So that's why the fiber is structured throughout the day like that. Now, as far as how strictly Katrin sticks to her diet, the words flexible eating are kind of overused a bit these days, but Katrin's diet is both strict and not strict. So by that I mean, for instance, when she's eating out, she's definitely allowed to have more fat because that allows her more flexibility of food options and makes the whole thing a bit easier. It's pretty hard to go low fat when you're eating out. And as long as your total daily calories are roughly the same, it's not a massive deal to toggle your carbs and fat a little bit. And also when she's drinking alcohol, for instance, that's also allowed. Just Adee gives her a little workaround for that with the calories.
The workaround would be taking the total calories and either dividing them by 9 or 4, or a mixture of the two, and then using, obviously if you divide by 9, it would be fat because there are 9 calories per gram of fat, and then if you divide by 4, you count it as carbohydrates since there's 4 calories per gram. We just don't let people not eat protein so that they can have wine, because everyone would choose that every time.
That said, while there is room for flexibility, and also her diet will change a little bit depending on where she is in the game season and sometimes some other factors, when she can, and that's most of the time, Katrin actually likes her diet to be pretty routine. If you actually follow her Instagram, you might have noticed by now, she tends to eat a lot of the same meals over and over.
She loves like oatmeal concoctions in the morning. She makes an egg and cabbage slaw, different type of like vegetable, like scrambly type of things. She loves burritos. That's definitely a frequent in her diet for sure. Different types of bowls or poke bowls. Katrin is definitely one of the people who loves to eat really, really nutritious food and lots of what people would call whole foods or minimally processed foods.
On a similar note, Katrin doesn't like to cycle carbohydrates like a lot of athletes do. That usually means increasing the amount of carbohydrates you're consuming around your workouts. She just likes things to be more consistent.
So for Katrin specifically, she thrives when things are similar or in more of a routine. So having a day where she's eating in excess of carbohydrates doesn't feel good for her. She doesn't perform better. It doesn't work that well for her. So in an athlete like Brooke Wells, for instance, before she competes, I would definitely increase her carbohydrates in the day before, the days before, and the days that she's competing. Same with Cole. It would be something I'd play with more. Katrin thrives more with things being more the same.
When she won the games, we went out to dinner. It wasn't some big celebratory thing. She went out and she had fish and vegetables. That was her celebratory meal after winning the CrossFit Games.
Adee said this a lot in our interview, and I have to make it really clear here, different things work for different people. The way Brooke Wells eats, Cole Stagg eats, and everyone else eats is different to the way that Katrin Davidsdottir eats. She has her own proclivities, her own preferences, and Adee is able to make those work within a diet that helps her to increase her performance. So we're not saying here that what Katrin does is what you should do. I mean, it might be, but the point of this video is that your diet and I guess every single other thing in your life is individualized to you and what works best for you. This is what works for Katrin. So that's it. That's about everything we have to say on Katrin Davidsdottir's diet. So to sum up, on workout days, she's gonna have 3,200 calories, a gram of protein per pound of body weight, about 3 grams of carbohydrates per pound of body weight, 25-ish% of her calories coming from fat. The vast majority of her food comes from whole foods. No foods are off limits, but refined sugars, refined grains really are minimized. Alcohol is okay sometimes, as long as you realize like it can affect your performance if you're having too much of it. And consistency is really key for her. Calories might decrease on rest days, but generally the rough percentage of protein, carbs, and fat stays the same. She likes to eat a lot of the same meals. And she also really likes to focus on nutritious whole foods. This is in stark contrast to a lot of people out there who'll have those really flexible, if it fits your macros type diets. They'll have 1,000 calories of ice cream. As long as it hits their macros, they're okay with it. Katrin Davidsdottir though, she likes to be healthy. So I really want to thank Adee Cazayoux for coming on today from WAG. You can check out more information about her in the description below and at the link on the screen. And thanks for watching as well. Make sure you subscribe because we've got a ton more nutrition videos and other training tips coming up.